welcome to another episode of Pop.vox Presents. I'm Phil Vecchio, and today we are super excited to welcome a very special guest. Please welcome Jesse Norell.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you, Phil?
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Wouldn't miss it. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Before we get going too far, of course, I got to introduce my very special helper and also wife. Janelle's over here.
Hi, guys. Coming in very carefully this time.
That's good. That's good. As always, Janelle will be helping to run things from behind the scenes, and she'll be monitoring comments and stuff. So if you guys have comments and questions for Jesse, please make sure to do that in our live stream thing there. All right.
Make sure they're all about politics.
That's good. That's heavily political. Yeah, a lot of controversial subjects.
That's what we do. Just the hard-hitting questions. Right. Make sure you get me in trouble with as many people as possible.
That's our goal, basically. Yeah. So Jesse, I'm super honored that you're here, and it's fun because a lot of times we have artists that I've known or worked with for a long time, and I was very recently introduced to your music through some people that I just had to give a shout out that have been on the show, Matthew Schwartz and Aaron Sprinkle, who do the Moon Traveling podcast. Through you, I guess you wrote into them, and then they posted stuff about you on their website and whatnot. I came across your stuff, loved it, and here we are now. So thank you to Matthew and Aaron for introducing us.
Those guys are amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. Yeah.
Now, you listened to Aaron Sprinkle stuff for quite a while, I'm assuming?
Decades.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just a part, like his music is just sort of ingrained in me. Yeah, he's great. And he's got one of those voices, it sort of encouraged me that I didn't have to have a Nirvana voice to be able to play, rock music.
Yeah.
And so that's cool. He's just got that sweet kind of sassy voice. And I was like, I could probably get down with that. That seems like me for sure.
That's right. Well, we have been so enjoying your new album, and I want to mention it right up front. First of all, I got to show it off because I do have my CD copy. There is Aorta Borealis, and it's phenomenal. Also, I think our green screen's probably messing with it, so I don't know how well that's showing up there. You can
looks
see
pretty good. Yeah. That's
trust
a
me,
heart
there's
on the cover, not a blob, in case anyone wants to know.
I just from the moment, because whenever people are sharing music, I'm always, I'll click and see because I love music. And from the moment, I read the story of this album and everything that you've put into it, I've just been in love with it. So would you mind just right up front, just giving us kind of a brief overview of what makes Aorta Borealis so special?
Well, I think part of it, speaking of Aaron Sprinkle and records that he's produced, is I wanted to see if I could top Control by Pedro the Lion, which is my favorite concept album of all time. But because that record and the concept album that he wrote before that, Winners Never Quit, that was the first time I had ever seen somebody write one story with all of the songs. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I wouldn't even have considered that one could do that. And so I was like, but both of those records end in a really dark place. From top to bottom, those records are just really dark. And I was like, okay, so I had this season of my life, and that I'll talk about here in a minute, that was pretty rough. And then it had a really happy ending. So can I take that same sort of formula that David Bazan set out, and can I give it a happy ending? Can I exercise, my sad songwriting muscles are much stronger, much more developed than my happy songwriting muscles. And I'm like, well, can I work on them both? Can I display them both in equal measure? And so that's what I was trying to do. So the story has to do with my daughter, Alyssa. When she was born, we found out on the day she was born that she was going to need heart surgery, that she had AVSD, which is heart defect. She had a bunch of holes in her heart, and she basically had one chamber where she should have had four. And we had no idea going in. We also found out that she had Down syndrome on that day, and we weren't sure what to do with the Down syndrome diagnosis, whether that was good or bad or what, but we knew that heart surgery was not good. And so wrestling through all of that, I ended up writing the first song on the album, which I'm going to play later. It's called What to Tell You. And I ended up playing it at a coffee shop when I was starting to get back on my feet and just playing solo again. And I thought, that's just one chapter of the story. And it's a really kind of sad part of it, the day she was born. And I just had all these feelings that weren't complete joy like they were when my older son was born. I just felt awesome about that day. That was a great day. This one I had more mixed feelings about. So do people want to know the rest of the story? So I did my first and only Kickstarter I've ever done to see if people wanted to hear the rest, because I felt like I needed a certain amount of support, more than I needed finances, although that helped and I went way beyond what I was given. But it succeeded, and then I was tasked with writing the rest of the story. So the first 7 songs are about her journeying through all the difficulties of heart surgery, me trying to figure out how to be her dad during those times. And then when the smoke clears, I just get to celebrate her and write songs about how amazing she is, how lucky we are to be her parents. I got to write a song about my son, who sacrificed a lot as the kid who was the firstborn, the only child. And then all of a sudden he went to like a distant second place when it was like, oh, who am I going to pay more attention to? My daughter, who is having trouble breathing, or my son, who wants the red plate instead of the blue plate, or whatever, like he just took like a back seat. So I got to write a song to celebrate him, and then one about my wife and how our marriage survived some tough times. And then there's sort of a summary song called Welcome to Sydney at the end. And it's all sort of encompassed in the title of the record, Aorta Borealis, aorta for heart and the heart surgeries and all that. That's really a big part of the concept album. And then Borealis is a reference to the Northern Lights, which you can only see against the backdrop of darkness. So it's about finding beauty even in dark times.
I love that so much. And it blows me away just the level of thought that was put into it from the top to the bottom. I love when you can just tell when an artist like means something. It's not just it wasn't a throwaway title or concept, that every aspect of it all the way through it's great. And I will be honest with you, like as a dad, I tapped into my emotions much more after I had kids. And this is amongst the list of very few albums that I've literally like cried to. And I just when I first got the CD in the mail, I popped it in the car when I was driving the kids to school, and we all like just listened with rapt attention. And I was like weeping on the way to school. I'm like, this is incredible. And I just had to commend you for that, because it's beautiful from top to bottom. And I would recommend to listeners out there, a great way to listen to it is on your website, jessenorell.com. All the lyrics are on there. And it's an experience to sit through and listen to the whole album and read it all. And it's just beautiful. So I just had to tell you.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I really appreciate that. It got chills when you were talking about it, just like listening with your kids in the car. And I mean, certainly you can tell I shed a few tears like making it, for sure. And it was super cathartic for me to try to face down some of this stuff. And you write it, and then you have to write the lyrics, and then you listen to it back, and then you like record all the parts, and you're listening to it over and over and over again. And I worked with somebody who mixed it, and he'd send me, okay, here's mix 1. And I'd listen to it a number of times and then send him notes. Here's mix 2, same thing. I listened to it over and over and over again through the process of making it. And I wouldn't say the word is desensitized, because I still feel like it's fresh, but I feel like I can handle it so much better than I could when I was first starting through the project. But yeah, this is a return to music for me, and the thought that got put into it, I think that's just part of not writing music for 15 years is all of a sudden you have one thing you're doing and it has all of your attention, and you get to think through sort of the ins and outs of it and really focus on it. And that's the kind of music I love, the kind that has a lot of thought put into it. Well,
one of the cool things about this album too is that it's beautiful. It tells an amazing story, complete from beginning to end. It's also really good music. And I feel like you've had some amazing interviews and gotten to go on big shows and stuff, but I'm not sure all of them appreciated how awesome it is musically. Like there's some really catchy songs, some excellent guitar lines, and just the whole thing is it's good music that if you just put it on and listen to it as background music, it's also a great album of music. And I don't want to I don't want to push that aside and just talk about how great the concept is. It's really, really good.
That means a lot to me. Thanks, Phil. I've from what I have discovered is that I feel like there's a good portion of people who appreciate the story and then never really listen to it. And I don't know if they just think like it's dad rock, or I think, and I fall into this sometimes too. I just kind of assume that there's so much music out there that I'm probably not going to like it. Like, it's probably not going to be my thing. But the people that have taken time to sit down with it, I've gotten a really good response from, almost universally. And it might be that there are some people that hate it, but they just don't want to tell me because it's like they feel bad. They would feel bad like giving me a crappy review because they're like, oh, it's such a, heartwarming story. I wouldn't want to trash this guy. But I think I think probably more than that, it's just that like when people sit down with it, there is, I feel like, something for everybody. It's an indie rock concept album about being a dad during some difficult times. So maybe that's a confluence of things that like people don't know what to do with. So anyway, but it was something that was completely necessary for me to make. And this is the record that I've always wanted to make. I've always wanted to work with like a string quartet or quintet, which is on a lot of these songs, and just be able to make something that sounded this good. This is the record I've been trying to make my whole life.
Well, as a dad who likes indie rock, I guess I am in that very narrow target demographic there. But like I said, my kids really love it too. Like it has been a frequently requested album on the drive to and from school.
That's awesome.
Probably their favorite, well, definitely my son's favorite is the Ode to Luigi, which, like, the gateway into that was, of course, like a Nintendo reference. They're like, oh my gosh, yep. Nintendo, check it out.
Yeah.
But my son also likes it because it is about your son, or at least partially, a tribute to him as his Halloween costume. Was that really what he dressed up as?
Totally. So yeah, Ode to Luigi. It's my son does dress up as Luigi all the time, and the question that he gets frequently is, "Where is Mario?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And it became the perfect metaphor for him because he took a backseat to his sister for a while. When she was having a hard time, and he's just always been so confident in himself. And so I have this image of my head, which is a real thing that happened, where he's walking down the street dressed up as Luigi, and he's holding his sister's hand walking like into the sunset. And I'm just like, that's amazing. I love this. And so I sort of wrote this song around it. And if you listen really carefully in the bridge, there's an instrumental bridge that if you go and listen to the music from Super Mario 2,
ooh,
where you go into like one of the caves, it's sort of a callback to that. You'll notice some similarities between that bridge and that song, because in Super Mario 1, Mario and Luigi were a palette swap, right? There was a green one and there was a red one. They were exactly the same other than that. Super Mario 2, Luigi could jump really high, and he had all these abilities that Mario didn't, and they were very different from each other and could do very different things. And so that, to me, again, it's just this big sort of convoluted metaphor for how awesome my son is.
I love it. We're going to go back and listen and compare to Super Mario Brothers 2 now, for sure.
Awesome.
Another one that I just want to highlight, we're going to have some of your music in a little bit, but since you couldn't play the whole album, I guess, unfortunately, there's a couple others I want to hit. The closing track, which is Welcome to Sydney, I absolutely love that one because when I first heard it, again, doing your initial listen through to kind of get an overview of it, it sounded like a fun, maybe silly, talk about like punching a kangaroo or something, we're like, what's this? That's fun. But like looking closer at it, I love the story, which is basically that you intended to go one place and your flight went another place, and not only do you just like, have a good attitude, but you embrace it and enjoy where life brings you. And, gosh, I just love the message in that song. Like, it's so beautiful, and it sums up the whole record so well that, not only was it not what you expected, but it's something even better than you could have imagined.
Thanks. That song is based off of a Emily Pearl Kingsley poem called Welcome to Holland. And when Alyssa was born, I got a lot of emails of people trying to help me figure out what I was going to do with her diagnosis, especially of Down syndrome. And there was a lot of things that people sent me that I didn't find particularly helpful. This essay or poem or whatever you want to call it was something that was helpful. And it just talks about somebody who was trying to go to Italy, and that was their dream vacation, and they were all ready for Italy. And then they somehow ended up in Holland. And they figure out that Holland is actually also a great place to take a vacation. So my daughter's middle name is Sydney. And so obviously Welcome to Sydney became like the new title. And I talk about someplace I kind of mentioned, you know, the Cayman Islands was where I was trying to go just because it fit like the syllables, right. Mostly why. And so it's about, like you said, readjusting your expectations, embracing sort of something that you thought wasn't what you wanted, but once you can readjust your expectations, you realize maybe this was better than what you had planned. And so again, that's a metaphor for my daughter. And when I sing the choruses, which is just like a travel brochure for Sydney, I'm doing like an advertisement for my daughter. Like, check it out. She's amazing. Like, this is an amazing place. And then the final line of the whole record on this song, it just says, welcome home. Because the thing that I thought maybe was a little bit short-sighted or off about the original poem was that it's talking about a vacation. But when you have a kid with special needs, like you live there. Like, that's your permanent reality. And just accepting that, like, you know, maybe you meant to go to vacation to X place, but you ended up living in Y place, you know, and that's okay. That's great.
That's awesome. In our family, we call it following your nose, which is when you're like out on an adventure and then something doesn't work out and you wind up somewhere else. It's obviously like on a smaller scale, but like, for instance, last weekend was Easter, and we were all supposed to get together and we're going to go out to my parents' have like this little property out in the wilderness, and we're going to have a picnic, and they got a flat tire, and we wound up having our Easter picnic like in a turnout on the side of the highway, and it was one of the best Easter memories ever, you know.
That's awesome.
That's a much smaller scale, obviously, than you're talking, but I love the idea of embracing, you know, what comes at you.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that happiness is a function of expectations, which is totally true. Like, it's just that initial sense that for whatever reason you're disappointed because you didn't expect it. Okay, well, get over that. Like, okay, that's a moment in time. That's fine. But once you are done, once you get over the fact that you expected thing A and you got thing B, well, what do you have now? And how can you make the best of that?
Yeah, I love it. Oh, Janelle, I saw there's a couple comments over here. Is there anything that we need to address?
Well, Audrey and Luke put a comment in through Grandpa.
Oh, okay, good. They're watching with Grandma and Grandpa.
From Grandma and Grandpa's house.
Hey, Audrey and Luke.
They said they love the album so much with an exclamation point. And then
Thanks,
Marilyn
guys.
wanted to thank you for sharing your story. So.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, and it's been so cool to have people. I've had people express a lot of things to me about their own stories and things that they've said they've never told anybody else because they've listened, and me sharing some honesty helped them to be able to express things to me. So it's been a cool sort of community building thing, and I've really enjoyed that part of it.
That's awesome. Now, I understand the kids are watching a movie right now. What are we watching today?
So as Alyssa's picked tonight, and she picked Frozen 1.
Oh, the original. Okay.
The original. Yeah.
Second one was good, but the first one's still the best, right?
Man, I gotta tell you, I'm just a huge fan of animated movies. I mean, just especially when, like, in both of those movies, in the first movie, their parents die in the first 10 minutes. And in the second movie, they killed the freaking snowman for half of the movie. It's just people don't understand how much they can get away with, how deep in the weeds they get in those movies.
Because it's animated.
Well, yeah. And so they're exploring with kids how to process grief And like, that's what this record is a lot
Yeah.
about. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, if they can get away with it, you know, the people at Disney can do it. Why can't I do it on a record? So no, I'm a big fan of both of those. For a long time, I like Moana was my favorite movie. Like, I kid you not. I just, there's, if you dig into that stuff, there's a lot there sometimes.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I still have a soft spot in my heart for Little Mermaid, but you know.
That was my, like growing up, that was my favorite. And everybody was like, that movie's for girls. I'm like, it's awesome. What are you talking about?
I think that movie is a story about the dad, by the way. It's a story about how he relates to his daughter and releasing that control and realizing that she's got to be her own person. Watch it as a dad with that perspective. It'll bump back up on your list. I'm just saying.
Oh, totally. The part where he destroys her collection of stuff is like, oh, dad, you just don't do it. Like every time I'm like, don't do it. Like this time, could you make a different choice?
And that part at the end when he looks at her and he says she really does love him, doesn't she? And he realizes he's got to, oh my gosh, I cry every time I see that.
You get me. Like, this is what I'm talking about. That stuff is just, it works on so many levels, man. And the fact that it's not like the kids like it at all, sometimes I'm just flabbergasted.
Yeah. It's other adults making the movies. That's, you know, sometimes people forget. And Janelle, for some reason, has this like bias against animated stuff. Like there's a huge hurdle to get to convince her to even watch an animated movie. So
yeah, I'm kind of a snob about animated movies.
I just hope you're hearing what Jesse has to say and
I'm
like
listening.
taking this to heart.
He's very wise.
Okay.
So.
I realized yesterday that I kind of have a bias against movies that have like it's like partial animation, you know, there are like real people in it and, you know, like stuff that kind of looks like really well animated puppets, like that sort of thing. I've realized that I have a harder time getting into that sort of thing because I can't, like, it's breaking the wall for me. It's like not A or B, it's something in the middle. Anyway, I'll stop talking about that now.
That's what this show is for, to get into the weeds, let me tell you.
Yeah. Pop.vox presents animated conversations.
That's right. That's what we're here for. Well, the other thing that we're here for is to hear some amazing music from you, and we do have a few songs that you have prepared for us. Is there anything before we get into the music that you wanted to introduce it or let us know, or just you want to dive right in?
Should I just like tell people what they're about to see?
That's good.
Listen to hear.
Good.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
So I've talked about the story a little bit, and I felt safe and comfortable playing the first song off of the record called What to Tell You, which is sugarcoat anything, does not really have a big silver lining. It's about the day Alyssa was born. And the reason I felt comfortable with that is because right after you're going to hear a song that's, you know, at the end of the record, two songs from the end of the record. One is called You Are, and the other one is an animated video for The Lucky Few. So it can kind of give you not the whole story, but sort of an idea of both halves of the record.
Awesome. Yes, I think it's a great introduction to it. And again, I would encourage everyone to listen to this album front to back because it's definitely a complete artistic, you know, vision. So, but I think this is a great selections. And if you're ready, I think we're going to jump into the music.
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to start off with What to Tell You from Jesse Norell. Here we go.
Telephone in the 11th hour of the night that you were born. The holes found in your heart now echoed in my own, and trisomy 21 was a kick when I was down, and in the dark aloud I thought, what do I do now? seem a bit confused. I know we've prayed for a brighter view, but I just don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. I don't know what I expected friends to say, but not congratulations, not it'll be okay, and sorry for your loss. Well, all I could do was wait. All night long I wrestled to make sense of how a blessing turned into a mess. I hope someday we'll have a clearer view. For now I just don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. What to tell you. What to tell you. Oh, what to tell you. If you want a love letter, I'll give you one better. I'll write you a love song so that all of the world can sing along. If you want to know your value, I can't begin to tell you. It's vast like the ocean, expansive as space, infinite number beyond what my words can convey. Independent and capable, your love's inescapable. More than we think you are, you are, you are, you are. Bringing light to my darkest days, rainbow color through all gray. Perfect the way you are, you are, you are, you are. And if you wanna own a restaurant, don't let anyone tell you you cannot. And if you wanna be a zoologist, don't let anyone tell you to desist now. Independent and capable of anything dreamable, more than we think you are. You are, you are, you are. You're a powerful gale winds force. You can make anyone change course. You can take us so far. You are, you are, you are. You are, you are. You are, you are. More than even I think you are. You are, you are, you are, you are. Look at the fortunate ones. Look at the one who's trying to follow. So serendipitously they've received remarkable sons and daughters. Look at the fortunate ones. Look at the marveling mother. Beyond any measure they are blessed for knowing love at 80 miles an hour. Now we could be the narrative shifters, inclusive to the outsiders, the outliers. We could be the truth tellers, the game changers, setting straight the naysayers. We could be the voice for the silence, for those who feel inaudible, or missable, invisible, atypical. We can do the impossible. This time I'm telling you, we are the lucky ones. We are the lucky few. We are the lucky ones who get to be loved by you. We are the lucky ones. We are the lucky few. We are the lucky ones who get to be loved by you. Look at the fortunate ones. Look at the sisters and brothers. They know the magic that's involved in being loved with superpowers. All together now. We could be the narrative shifters, inclusive to the outsiders, the outliers. We could be the truth tellers, the game changers, the difference makers. All hell can't stop us now. We are the lucky ones. We are the lucky few. We are the lucky ones who get to be loved by you. We are the lucky ones. We are the lucky few. We are the lucky ones who get to be loved by you. We are the lucky ones. We are the lucky few. We are the lucky ones who get to be loved. We are the lucky ones. We are the lucky few. We are the lucky ones who get to be loved by you. We are the lucky ones. We are the lucky few. We are the lucky ones who get to be loved.
And we are back. That was so awesome. That was incredible.
Thank you.
And see, people thought that the animation discussion was just like out in the weeds, but it was secretly a backdoor discussion about how did you come about having an animated music video? It's so cool.
Fiverr.com.
Really?
Yeah. So I, was like, there's another video for You Are, like the one that I played before that. That's just, I asked a bunch of people to send me videos of their kids with Down syndrome. And so that's what that video is. And I wanted something that was a little different. So I put it out there on Fiverr and like, hey, this is sort of what I'm looking for. And I had like 30 or 40 responses, which either felt like, I don't know if this person can do the job based on what they're sending me, or this looks fake. Like, I feel like the examples that they're sending me, I don't think they really made them, because I saw multiple people sending me the same things. I was like, this is so weird. And then the very last one, like the 38th one or whatever, was this guy named Fred Chara. And he said he was part of this animation company called Toonflix in Uganda. And so this guy, his English is perfect. And I hit it off with, we do a Zoom call and I hit it off with him. And like the communication is just like there. I was worried about this, right? Because most of the people, when they responded, there was just like, the language barrier just looked like a big deal, because I didn't get any offers from the US or Canada or anything like that. It was just all, countries where their first language is in English or Spanish, which is like the two languages that I'm familiar with.
Right.
And so anyway, we hit it off, and I just said, I wrote him like a storyboard. I was just like, so this is like the opening scene and this is the next one. And he took at least like 70 or 80% of those and just put them in there, and we went back and forth for a little while, and this is what we came up with. And it's super fun. I would say I was really happy with all of the scenes where Alyssa's a superhero, and like I just think that stuff is super cool. But the person that he drew that was supposed to look like me, I was like, okay, man, I'm not really the show here, so that's fine. But I look kind of weird. But okay, let's just move on. No, but I think it's super fun. And I think it's cool when you're writing stuff about your kids and making stuff for your kids. It's like, in the consciousness of the world, that nobody's going to be paying attention to this in, a month or a year or whatever. But this will always exist for my family.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really cool thing.
I love it. Well, and I didn't let our kids watch this video ahead of time because I wanted them to see it live, because I knew they'd be stoked on it. Not only is an animated superhero, all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty great. I love it. Well, Jesse, thank you. I have to just thank you again so much for being here. This has been a treat. This is also the only Pop Vox Presents I've ever gotten teary-eyed. I know I have reflections on my glasses, so you can't see behind them, but trust me, it's just it's a very emotional experience with this album, and I thank you so much for sharing with us for it. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, Phil. It's good to get to connect. Like, I know my people are out there. It's just sometimes hard for us to connect. So we're friends now.
Yes.
And I appreciate you having me on and all your kind words.
Absolutely. Well, and we also want to make sure that other people know where to find you. So where can people find you and your music on the internet? Where can they buy the album, et cetera, et cetera?
So jessenorell.com, if you can spell that, that's the best way to go, because if you're looking for a link to someplace else, that's all the links are on there. So if you want Spotify or you want Apple Music or whatever, but it's everywhere. Whatever your favorite streaming service is, you can find it there. But you can also stream it directly from my website. I think the ideal is you're listening to it on a platform where you have a membership, so you're not getting some weird album when you're like weeping, or some weird advertisement. I mean,
right?
Like that's just, and depending on what the advertisement is, that could really like wreck the experience.
Yeah.
And so if you want to avoid that, just Phil, you bought a CD. Anyone can do that, and I realize that not everybody uses that anymore, but it's good for the car, and it's all no matter what happens, you can always own that, and that is exactly the sort of experience that I want you to have. You can just pop it on and hit play. It's seamless in between every song. There's no like little, the song.
Right.
A lot of the songs flow one into another. So yeah, jessenorell.com is the way to go. There's links to my Patreon and everything else on there.
Awesome. Quick question about the streaming stuff. On Bandcamp, you only have the one song on there. What's the deal? And are we getting the full album ever on there?
I mean,
because that's my streaming service that I use.
Okay, so that was the one. I should probably just put it on there. But like, if you buy it from there on Bandcamp Fridays, then it all goes to me. Or you could just buy it from my website on any day of the week, because you can buy the individual files from there as well.
Right.
So I guess like I was advised by somebody just like, hey, just make your own website and just, don't do Bandcamp. They take too big of a cut or whatever. But like, I don't even care anymore. So like, I just want people to go get it. So yeah, having it available in more places is probably the way to go. I haven't gotten around to that. So thank you for reminding me. I will do that.
All right. Well, I mean, cause we bought the single on there, but I prefer physical media. That's my thing, which is why I got the CD. But like for instance, we went on a little trip, we had a rental car, no CD player. I got to listen to music somehow. So we've got, that's the app that I would use. And we only had one Jesse Norell song for the whole vacation to listen to.
All right. You've definitely convinced me. I'll get it up.
Okay. All right. It's a great song. We'll want the whole thing though,
Awesome. Love it.
Awesome. Janelle, any final comments in the thing? I saw at least one thing that someone said.
Well, a lot of emotions in the form of emojis from Melissa. A lot of like teary faces. Especially during the first
song. Yeah.
So
that's a doozy.
Yeah. So yeah,
excellent.
A lot of people, liking and loving everything.
And I see that video. It says the video was amazing.
I just saw that pop up as well.
Yes, that is great.
Awesome. Glad you liked that.
That's super awesome. Well, anything else that you wanted to add, Jesse, before we wrap it up here?
I don't think so. I mean, I like I said, I'm in it for connecting with people and community. So if you listen through the record and something jumps out at you and you want to tell me, like, I would welcome you getting in touch with me, and I'm very easy to get a hold of. I'm on all of the social media platforms, and my email address is right on my website as well. So please drop me a line. Would love to connect with any of you, even if you want to just be my first super negative review. It's okay. I will embrace it with open arms.
I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. People can be mean.
There's always one.
But there's a lot of nice people out there too, and that's good.
That's what I've discovered. There's a lot of nice people out there for sure.
Well, thank you again, Jesse. I think that is going to bring our show to an end here, and I just cannot thank you enough for being here. Thank you also to those of you that are watching live with us on our live stream or watching later on YouTube or wherever. We really appreciate you guys supporting Pop.vox Presents and the artists that we are sharing with you guys. So we do have more artists coming up in May. We have Candace Coker, and we have the Spivies are up next. So we're very excited for them as well. So please join us again in May. But thank you again, Jesse. And hopefully we'll be ready for whatever the next project is that you wind up. We're going to have you back. So
I should tell you, I think a children, like a Rage Against the Machine style children's record is up for me next.
That
so
makes sense.
Look out for that.
That seems
totally
on brand. That's good.
Yeah. Well, for reals. I mean, okay. So I have this video. I'm sorry, you just wrapped up and now I'm opening another can of worms.
This is good. This is
if you
goes in waves.
If you go to my YouTube channel, I made a cover of Alyssa's favorite song. It's called Leftovers by a band called Cuckoo Kangaroo.
Okay.
And it is sort of in that vein, like Rage. It's just, I have always made myself giggle with the thought of what if Rage Against the Machine made children's music? And it just makes me laugh every time I think about it. So that's what we did. We did a cover of a song in that style. And so you can check that out on YouTube. The number one question that I get asked when people are trying to understand what this record is, what Aorta Borealis is, they're like, so does Alyssa sing on the record? And I'm like, it's about her. It's not made by her. It's kind of a different thing. And so I got asked that enough times that I was like, well, I guess it's time to give the people what they want. So I'm thinking about making a record with my kids this summer. And with that vein of like, the music takes itself really seriously and the lyrics are like written by children.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think it's going to be fun. I hope it's just all fun as opposed to this record, which, goes through a roller coaster of emotions. This will just be pure silliness.
Just the fun.
I just linked the video.
You did.
Nice.
It's in the comments there. Okay. Excellent.
Thank you, Janelle. Thanks for all your work. Appreciate you. And thanks, Phil.
She keeps the ball rolling over here. So
appreciate you both.
That is awesome. And I can't wait to hear it. That's fantastic. There's nothing like recording and making music with your kids too, although I have not done it to the extent that you have. It's a fantastic experience. So I highly recommend it.
It's just great because I don't know. It brings I don't know. People talk about like multiple revenue streams. You have to be, it's sort of like that, except for like love. You know what I mean? It's like, so you make something and nobody cares about it, but your kids love it. So it's a win no matter what. Like, even if, it's just another stream of like joy that you can have making music when you get your kids involved or just they love it or whatever. So it's great.
That's awesome. I'm glad we took a detour before we wrapped it up there because I didn't cover that. That was important. So it's good.
Awesome.
All right. Well, once again, thank you so much to Jesse. Thank you to everyone watching. Thank you, Janelle. And that's going to do it. We'll see you next time on another episode of Pop Vox Presents.
Thanks, everybody.